Howdy, friends and floorheads. We are about to do something that's very different for this channel. We do a lot of actual plays of role-playing games. This is the first time we've actually done a LARP, which is odd to be able to do on stream because it's not live action. We're not together. We're playing Ghost Court. This is available from Bully Pulpit Games, created by Jason Morningstar. I've had a chance to play this live in person at one of our Camping for Gamers, and it is really criminal how much fun you get out of this little box with a pack of tarot cards. For this LARP, once we switch over and court begins, our goal is to stay in character at all times. So unlike a role-playing game where we might say my character does this, my character does that, nope, everything is in first person. We are live action role-playing. We're just going to be our characters. I'm going to play the role of the judge. We have got a court clerk. We also have a court reporter who will talk to the plaintiff and the defendant afterwards. The premise being is this is like a Judge Judy, but the court is for the living and the dead to be able to adjudicate any of their discrepancies. We have then got 7 players who are going to be taking on cases. Each player will have a chance to be a defendant as well as a plaintiff. So other than me, the clerk, and the reporter, everybody else is going to end up playing 2 characters. From my understanding, court is about to begin. So let's switch over there and let's start.
What you're about to witness is real. These participants are not actors. You will tell from their poor acting. They're the living people and the ghosts who've already either filed suit or been served a summons to appear in municipal court. Both parties in the suit, however, have agreed to dismiss their court case and have their dispute settled here in our forum, the Ghost Court. Well, hey, everybody. Curtis Clark here. I'm the court clerk. Some people call me Courteous Curtis. You'll notice I've set the thermostat to 68 degrees. So hopefully that should be a nice, even temperature for everybody. Now, nobody touched the thermostat. We're going to run a very straight court here today. So let's all be respectful. Let's listen to Courteous Curtis. Wouldn't want Courteous Curtis to get uncourteous now. And let's begin. Oyez, oyez, oyez. Ghost Court is now in session. The living, the Honorable Cornwallis Westbrook presiding.
Let's hear the first case, Curtis.
All right, Judge, we've got Wope Kissix versus Partlow on the docket today.
And just out of curiosity, Curtis, is it going to be standard? How much time we giving the plaintiff and the defendant, and how much time do I have to ask questions?
Yes, Judge. As you will remember, each plaintiff and defendant will have 1 minute to plead their case. And then, of course, because you are a honorable and living judge, we will give you 3 minutes to decide on their fate. Not a second more.
Well, that's good. And you're going to keep track of that time because we've got to stay on time. And when I'm done, I do ask our plaintiffs and defendants to step outside of the courtroom, and you are to talk to the court reporter, which is makes for really good TV, which, let's be honest, that's the only reason we're here.
Indeed.
So what's up
what
first?
We've got here is a, Wope Kissix versus Partlow. Please step up to the podium. There's some bottled water there. Each one of you can take one, just one. Okay? This is a haunting rights dispute between 2 of our ghost claimants of the property of 1151 Sumner Street.
The only thing before we get started, because I've always wanted to say this at Ghost Court, bring out your dead.
Is it supposed to be funny, Judge?
It is not your turn to talk, sir. Let's start with the plaintiff.
It's Whoopi Shushu. So I want to have that registered in the court. Whoopi Shushu. I'm of the Lenape tribe. I'm the last of my tribe, and I have been buried. It's my burial ground. I've been haunting that for over 200 years. And now this upstart is just, won't bugger off. He needs to bugger off. This is my land, my heritage. And instead of just nosing around, looking at whatever his children are doing. He needs to just go and, I don't know, haunt other people, haunt whatever floozy, he was dating before he died. He didn't even die in the property. So, and he's not buried there. And the urn with the ashes doesn't count because it's mainly just cat droppings now after they dropped it. So it's neat.
Oh, I'm sorry. That is time for Miss Whoopie Shishu.
Whoopie Shushu.
Defendant.
Yeah, Your Honor, you see what I got to deal with here. I mean, I acknowledge the fact that Mrs. Whoopie Shushu, may have, died in this general area. But I mean, this is my house. This is the house I built with my own mortgage. This is a place where I and my kids got rights. I mean, was there even a house when she was here? No, there wasn't a house here. There wasn't even a Sumner Street. So, she can haunt the backyard as far as I'm concerned. I'm not unreasonable. But, I first of all, I want to call you out because the bit about the ashes was not called for. Miss Kitty had one accident. They tightened it. They sifted it. It's fine. Anyway, I'm sorry, Judge. That was just a personal matter for me. Like I said, I mean, this house wasn't a house when she was around. I got respect for her. We could move her body into the backyard. There's a nice park down the street. We could do something. But I just think the house belongs to me.
Here's a strong case from the defendant.
Yeah, it's very interesting here. And I think in many ways, the law is very clear about jurisdiction. This is, I think, a jurisdictional question that we are facing right now. It is very clear that our plaintiff, now let me understand, your body is interred on this land. Do I understand that correctly?
My body is interred on this land underneath the house.
Okay, and that's good. And defendant, now, my understanding is you, in fact, are not buried here. That was the allegation. Is that, in fact, true as well?
Well, Your Honor, I mean, these days we mostly bury people in cemeteries. As the plaintiff mentioned, I was cremated, but so my such physical remains as I have are on the property.
So there was also an allegation that, in fact, that the majority of the vase is, in fact, feline feces.
That's not true, Your Honor.
You're saying that's not true. Have we?
No.
Have they tested this?
I don't think so, but I mean, I saw they sifted it all out.
Plaintiff, that was a very, very large allegation that you in fact made. Have you in fact tested the percentage of the ashes between our defendant's former body versus feline feces?
I was the one who knocked over the urn. It was all over the carpet.
They
hoovered it up. They hoovered it up and they put in some kitty litter.
So you're saying I was there, and then you sabotaged my remains?
This is very interesting.
I was haunting the property. That's what you do as a ghost.
This is very interesting. This is in fact, I am speaking. This is in fact very interesting because it does change things. So I think it was important to understand that all of the plaintiff is in fact here present on site, and only part of the defendant is on site. I assume the other part of the defendant might be in a trash bin somewhere.
Well, because she knocked it off the shelf.
Yeah, I think that makes things very interesting. I think that, my ruling, I am ruling in favor of the plaintiff because I do think jurisdiction does take place here. The fact that she is interned on the land does give her precedence here, but I will tell you, I would like to see some deference offered to the defendant. So plaintiff, if you would allow on alternating Saturdays for the defendant to see his family and to thus haunt them, because I'm sure they deserve it, that is my ruling. So the plaintiff has full jurisdiction for the haunting on Sumner, but the defendant has alternating Saturdays where he can visit his children and haunt them as well.
Yeah, great.
Very well. A wise decision.
All right, Poltergeist here. Quick question for what was it? Mrs. Whoopee Cushion.
Whoopee Shushu. Whoopee Shushu.
Yes. Are you happy with the outcome of the ruling?
Well, I mean, I was never there on Saturdays anyway. So I think this is, it's a fair ruling, and Yeah, I mean, he's in the dustbin now. So
Riveting stuff. Mr. Partslow, are you worried the house will lose value with someone effectively squatting underneath the building?
I mean, that's why I should have had that, because I'm more concerned with the property value of a house, and she's just going to go around, knocking stuff off the shelves and making all kind of ruin and stuff. I think it is a threat to the value of the property. And if I ever find the ghost of my real estate agent, I'm going to wring his neck, because I said, is this an ancient Indian burial ground?
Let's move on here. Thank you.
Curtis, I think we have case number 2 on the docket.
Yes, Judge, we do. This is case number 2. This is Byrne versus Gerlowicz. Gerlowicz. Please approach the bench.
And the nature of this case, Curtis.
Oh, yes. This here, Your Honor, is a behavior complaint by the living plaintiff against the resident poltergeist at 61 Bellwood Court. Plaintiff.
Bellwood Court.
Yeah.
Plaintiff, Byrne, please make your case.
So, Your Honor, I moved into 61 Bellwood Court like 2 weeks ago, and it's infested. Obviously, it's haunted by the poltergeist, and I'm fine with the regular stuff, like items flying, furniture shaking. I'm pretty much fine with that. But the most outrageous thing happened last week. I was bird watching on the branch outside of my house, and I thought I saw a giant kingfisher there. And the poltergeist whispered that it was, in fact, a nightingale. And I assumed it was a nightingale, and I got made fun of in my birdwatching club, and it can't stand. It just can't stand. And yeah, and other things happened, and there was they tossed a pizza out of my window, and it.
All right, Mr. Byrne, that's quite enough. Thank you.
Defend it.
Yeah, man. Dan Gerlowicz here. Drummer for the Rocket Birds. Back in the 70s, you probably heard of me. I'm sorry about all the ruckus, but I got to keep on keeping on. Man, I was gone too soon. I'm big into birds. The Rocket Birds. That's our band. I don't know if you've heard of us. If you give me also the pizza that you order Domino's and you expect me not to throw it out a window. I mean, please. If you give me a studio space, you hear me banging on that washing machine, banging on those paint thinner cans down the basement. I'm sorry about the small fire last week, but an artist has to create. I'm just doing my job.
Thank you, defendants. Judge.
Yeah, I've got more than just a few questions, and this definitely does appear, this is well called, Curtis, as a behavior-based case, because I think we have a situation where we have unwelcome behavior from our poltergeist. Now, it has been very clear in the law that we are allowing the dead and the living should be living together in harmony. It doesn't appear that this is the case, and I've heard your music, and harmony is not the word I would use to describe your band, sir. I think my first question is for you, defendant. Did you, in fact, falsely identify the bird in an attempt to humiliate your host?
You know what? I'm an avid bird watcher. And seeing him looking on his little device, I don't want to hear it. You need to look up on a book. You need to get a book. Back in my day, we had books, not these little devices that you looking at. So yeah, I did.
And I gotta be honest with you, I understand that, because all those flippy, swappy things, they confuse me as well. Now, plaintiff, I do sympathize with you. Being made fun of at Bird Club is something that no living or dead should have to endure. So my sympathies are with you on this, but we also have to allow for the fact that the defendant's death was not timely, and what kind of deference can we potentially offer here? I'm definitely open to ruling in your favor, plaintiff, but I will not be banishing our poltergeist here. So I need to get an understanding from you very quickly. What kind of deference can we offer to potentially settle this case?
So I would be fine with like having him at my home and playing concerts, but I would like him to pay for my monthly rate for a year for my bird watching club.
That's very interesting. It's, you realize that currently the ghost card has not been authorized, so it's very difficult for the dead to pay the living. So let's recognize that. But we could put it potentially into escrow. But you are saying, if I understand this correctly, that you would build out a space for our poltergeist to be able to practice and perform.
I would provide even a drum kit there, but you know, the thing with the ghost card sounds like his problem, right? It's not mine. I just want him to pay for my.
That is very understandable. Just very quickly, defendant, are you open to limiting your hauntings to this performance place, this practice area, if in fact the plaintiff does build that out?
You do have a great shed. I am very willing to put a couple cans of paint in there, and I will play. You can record my playing, and you can sell it. Pay for.
All right, I've got my ruling.
Let's wrap this up.
I've got my ruling. I'm ruling in this case again in favor of the plaintiff. The plaintiffs have a nice streak going here, but under the condition that shed is transformed into a practice space for the defendant. And defendant, if I hear you misnaming a bird again, then I'm bringing you all, but I'm hauling you both back in here.
Mr. Byrne,
misnaming any bird.
Mr. Byrne, are you happy with the outcome of this ruling?
Yes, I'm happy, and I mean, it was said that I need to put the paint cans there. They will be plastic, not metal. Thank you.
Are you going back to Bird Club?
That's a question I would like to not answer, because it's still a very, very hurtful experience for me. So no comment here.
Very understandable. Mr. Gorkovich, big Rocket Bird fan here. Is this ruling the worst thing to happen to you since you died?
No. Actually, the worst thing to happen was when I passed. I moved on. I was replaced by a drummer. He's horrible. So I'm still trying to produce music at this residence.
And we look forward to the next album. Thank you so much.
I think we're on. Is this case 3 now?
This is case 3, Your Honor.
All right, we're going to go on a good clip here. I like the pace you're keeping here, Curtis.
Well, Precision is my third middle name. Nevertheless, here we go. Turnbull versus Wong. Please step up to your lecterns there. Again, 1 bottle of water each. I'm watching. This year we have a tenancy case between the ghost plaintiff, who has been evicted, and the living property owner at 919 Sherman Street.
919 Sherman Street. That's a nice residence. That's very nice.
Well,
all right, I would like to hear from Turnbull. You are the plaintiff. Please state your case.
Well, here I was enjoying the attic on a very beautiful night, and Mr. Wong came and said I had to leave, and it's not fair, man. Judge, I was promised by Mr. and Mrs. Smith that I could stay here forever, and now he's telling me I have to leave. I don't know what to do. I mean, this doesn't seem fair. Used to be that a man's promise was worth something, but now, I mean, I had some great time in that attic, the best of the 60s, you know? but
I'm sorry, real quick. 1960s or 1860s?
oh, 1960s.
1960s.
So
All right.
yeah,
I've heard your case,
I-
plaintiff. Sounds like you've
Thank you,
been
plaintiff.
evicted, and I would now need to talk to. I guess you're the current resident of 919 Sherman Street.
No, Your Honor. I am the owner of the property. When I filed to acquire the property, I ensured that I filed all of the proper legal arrangements to have any and all haunting stopped on the premises. So at that point, when I arrived to do my initial survey of the property, I found that there was in fact a ghost still staying on the premises, and I immediately, of course, I responded in kind and suggested that they needed to leave the premise. I brought forth all of the proper paperwork, et cetera, et cetera. A handshake, if you will, agreement with the prior tenant has no bearing. There are clauses within the documentation as such.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and start questions, and I'm not quite sure how to word this, Mr. Wong. So please don't take this the wrong way, but I think it's pertinent to this case. Are you a deadist?
No, Your Honor, I am not a dentist. However, I would like to have the property maintained in a certain state, and I feel like my intent is to have residents come in, and I will rent it, and I'd like them to have a place where they can maintain their own level of privacy and be free of haunting.
Because I got to tell you, some of the language you're using is used by the anti-dead movement, and I just need to understand you are in fact not part of this movement.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Can I go as far as to say you are pro-dead?
Well, I certainly don't. I wouldn't suggest that I'm pro-dead. I very much prefer to stay alive.
All right. So, plaintiff, Mr. Turnbull, so you made it clear that you had an arrangement with the previous owner of 919 Sherman Street. I think you mentioned that it was a Mr. or Mrs. Smith. Is that accurate?
Yeah, Andrew and Daisy, they were fantastic. They were kind. They were understanding. We never had any problems, Your Honor, and we shook on it.
Now, I do understand that both of the Smiths had an untimely death in this residence, which made it available. Do you have any insight on what caused them to jump out of that off that third floor window?
That whole night is a blur, Your Honor.
I see. Did you get into writing the fact that you would maintain residence in the transfer of ownership? Is there in fact paperwork available to show this, or was it just a spit and a handshake?
I think I didn't. They were so young. I didn't think I needed papers. I mean, a man's word has got to mean something, Your Honor.
I got to say, now that we've expanded the legal system to encompass both the living and the dead, that does not preclude you from understanding how the legal process works. I do have a judgment that I judge in the favor of the defendant. The defendant very clearly does have the required filings and paperworks, and I am sorry, Mr. Turnbull, but you are going to have to evacuate, and this is a lesson learned that next time you get that in writing, because I am not pro or anti-dead, pro or anti-living, but I will tell you that the living will go back on an agreement. That's why you have to get it in writing.
But where will I go?
That is unfortunately that is outside of the jurisdiction of this court.
Thanks for nothing. You're a disgrace to the dead. That's what you are.
Mr. Turnbull. Mr. Turnbull, quick question. Will you respect the ruling of the judge?
Respect? I've got no respect for that man. Doesn't care for the dead. Where will I go now? Those were the best years of my life. And now...
Well, weren't you dead? Aren't you dead?
Yeah, so...
Just asking questions. Mr. Wrong, is it? Gong?
Wong, sir.
Oh, yes. Does this experience here change how you think of ghosts?
Certainly not. I think that one bad apple certainly shouldn't ruin the bunch. The gentleman, the ruling has, I feel justified in the ruling that I received. He will have to evacuate the premise, and if he does not, I will in fact call the Ghostbusters. This will be dealt with.
Extreme measures. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, Judge. Next case. We've got an interesting one here. Case number 4 on the docket today. Fernandez v. Fernandez. This here is a behavior complaint by the living plaintiff against the family ghost at 4001 Mason Court Drive.
Mason Court
Plaintiff.
Drive. Another nice neighborhood. Plaintiff, let's please your case.
Of course, Judge. So I've recently, a couple years ago, opened a nice little bed and breakfast. Figured that's a place, I can make some money in my retirement. And, while I love having my abuela around, she's decided to have fun in her unlife age. Now, don't get me wrong, having a haunted bed and breakfast in October, it's great, it's wonderful. I've even advertised on the Codex of Visages and on that whole Twitter thing about this. Great for business. But in the middle of July, okay, sure, having cold air going around randomly, great. In the middle of January, not so much. So maybe if you could just tone it down, we'll do a big splash in October, and then the rest of the year, we just kind of let the guests have their, nice, relaxing.
Thank you, plaintiff. Thank you, plaintiff. Let's hear from the defendant.
Oh, this little Nieto has no respect for his abuela. He is he wants a haunted house. He wanted a haunted house. He asked for it, and then only when it is suitable for him, only when it convenes him. So it's a very naughty boy, and he's just it is not respectful. He needs to respect his elders, and he needs to respect his abuela, and not complain. As he said, in the summer I keep it nice and cool, and in the winter, if he gets a bit cold, or if those disrespectful guests, well, then they get a bit of cool, or perhaps a little slap on the tuchus in the bath. So
interesting.
Gracias, Senora Fernandez. I learned that on a cruise in Acapulco.
So, plaintiff, Mr. Fernandez, another indelicate question. This has now happened 2 cases in a row. You mentioned you've been advertising on the Twitter for your bed and breakfast. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
Are you in fact pro-Nazi, as many of the people on Twitter are? Or I need to understand that behavior of why you're still on that platform.
Oh, well, you see, no, I'm not pro-Nazi. What I'm doing is I'm trying to take their cash to put it into more efficient and better things, and then they have less cash to go do their protests and whatever they want to do, type of stuff.
I'm gonna preface this as, will not impact the judgment. I will let you know that just one Nazi guest makes it a Nazi bed and breakfast. So I just want you to be careful and be mindful of that, and understand that. But from my understanding, Miss Fernandez, is had you discussed your own life when you were living? Did you talk to your grandson about what you had hoped for in own life? Had that discussion happened at all?
when I still lived, I said, Nieto, when you inherit the house, your abuela will still be here and will still watch over you. And I still see what he does with the money from the Nazis. He's buying naughty books. He's a very naughty boy.
Interesting. And plaintiff, do you remember this conversation with your abuela?
Like I said, I'm still fine with her, being around.
Not answering the question, defendant. Don't obscure things. No, sir. Not in this court.
I'm trying to answer your question. I've said, I have no problems with her being here. That seems to be her complaint. Yes, I remember that conversation, I don't know why she calls RPGs naughty books, but that's her thing. But like I said, I don't have a problem with that piece, which we conversed on. It's the part where she is being overbearing to non-members of the family.
Interesting. Now, a couple quick more questions, and I do have a judgment here. Mr. Fernandez, did you inherit the house from the defendant?
Technically, I inherited it from the defendant's son.
Okay, but that's the lineage. That's how this was passed down. This is how you came in possession of the property. That's excellent.
Yes.
Are you willing to build out a schedule where your abuela can participate in the profit and building us out? So we talked about October. We talked about cool air during the summer. Are you open to this?
Yes. I mean, I don't mind doing that. It's just as long as it's appropriate for.
Judge, we're going to have to wrap it up here.
Understood. We got a tight schedule, so I do apologize. I do have a judgment. It's in play. It's in place for the plaintiff, but to be very clear, the defendant is still to occupy the home, and the defendant is going to be presented with a schedule for haunting. This, and it must be agreed upon by both parties. And if there's any disputes about that schedule, you guys can come back here to court, but I rule in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant, though, cannot be exercised.
What an interesting outcome. Mr. Fertilize, are you happy with the ruling?
Yes. I mean, that's all I was asking for is, just to tone it down a little bit, especially in the more inappropriate times.
It sounds very fair. Miss Fernandez, are you worried the ruling will affect your haunting relationships?
No, I think it will. I mean, no judge is going to stop me from goosing or haunting Nazis. So it doesn't matter what time of schedule they come. If they come in, I will blast them with cold air in January if they're Nazis.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, Judge. We're just cruising right along. Case number 5. We've got Jenkins versus Lucretio. This here is a contract dispute between the living owner of Ye Old Haunted Well, Inc. And an employee ghost.
Interesting. We do not often get contract disputes here. This is excellent. This is excellent. This is a nice change of pace, Curtis. I don't know if you put these in the particular order, but I'm lacking the rhythm.
I did it for you, Judge.
He's so good.
Plaintiff?
Yes, Your Honor. Basil Jenkins, proprietor of Ye Old Haunted Well on Highway 61 outside Attleboro, the finest local haunted well gift shop and miniature golf park to be found in the tri-state area. This is, I think, a rather simple situation. Lucretio, the defendant, has been a wonderful Gothic presence at the haunted well. I mean, the entire business is sort of built around him. And unfortunately, he has been less and less present on the property, and our Yelp reviews are beginning to suffer. We are otherwise having extraordinary difficulties because the entire premise of the property is built around a haunted well. And if the ghost is not present, the well is not actually being haunted, thus limiting our ability to live up to our name. We had a contractual agreement for 40 hours of haunting during normal business hours of property, and Mr. Lucretio has not been holding up his end of the bargain.
And Mr. Lucretio, do you have a rebuttal?
Your Honor, I never asked for this. There was no collies around, and I fell into the well when I was alive. So it was never a fate that I thought I will experience. But I was fine with scaring people and with haunting the well for a long time. But right now it's more of a hobby situation and not a job situation. You know how it is when you turn your hobby into a work, and so yeah. And now it doesn't feel right. It feels a bit of sinful even, because it's just it doesn't feel right to take money for it. and I don't want to do it anymore.
Interesting. All right. So I guess my first question is for you, Mr. Lucretio. You mentioned that this has been a hobby and you have not been interested in making it a full-time. Was there ever any paperwork? Were you in fact the plaintiff intimated or inferred that you were hired? So were you in fact hired? He's shaking a piece of paper like it says something. So be careful, you are under oath.
I was presented the paperwork, but I cannot sign it because I just pass through the paper. So I don't think it's legally binding. And by the way, he said that it's the best haunted well. It's top 5 at most.
Very good. That does not impact the case whatsoever.
Outrageous.
Yes, Mr. Jenkins. Now you have the paper there, but it sounds like you in fact did not provide a ghostwriter in order for our defendant to be able to sign the paper. Is that accurate?
I was not made aware that was an issue. He read the contract and gave verbal assent in front of several witnesses, living and dead. I assumed that would be sufficient to make it a legally binding item.
So
They're very affordable.
Question for your plaintiff. It sounds like it's key that the well is haunted. I mean, it's built into the name, right?
Quite so.
And by no means would you want to go through that process of changing the LLC. You think dying's a nightmare?
Nightmarish, sir. Yes.
Oh, it's awful. But would you be open potentially to having another spirit inhabit the well and maybe allow a different haunting? Does it in fact have to be Lucretio?
No, I mean, we'd have to reprint some of the T-shirts and other merchandise, but I think that's reasonable. I mean, I don't want to. I'm not some kind of slave driver. I don't want to put an entity to work that doesn't want to work anymore. But at the same time, I feel like we need to find someone. So, if any of you spirits have been displaced,
I got an idea here.
Plaintiff.
Hold on a second, son. Hold on a second. I got to talk to the defendant real quick because I do have a judgment here. Defendant, would you be willing on your next shift to push an attendee of the well into the well to replace you? Would you be open to that?
Yes, but he would have to be a Twitter user.
That we can definitely arrange that. In fact, we can probably arrange it with the last case to maybe have one of them come visit as maybe free tickets as being part of that Airbnb. You get free tickets to the haunted well. You push them in, they replace you, and I think that's good. So I'm ruling in favor of the plaintiff, but with the understanding that the defendant will continue to do their duties, but only until they in fact replace themselves from employment.
Judge, that reminds me of what the man said when he fell into a hole in the dark. Oh. Well.
No, that brings up my favorite joke of all time. I got to tell my favorite joke before we get to our last. This is our last case. Is that right? Second to last case. We're coming on this quick. So, greatest joke ever written. Are you ready? I don't think you're ready. Are you ready, Curtis?
Oh, I'm ready, Judge.
Greatest joke ever told. You ready? Why did the man who was nearsighted fall into the well?
I don't know why, Judge.
Because he couldn't see that well.
Polly?
Well, let's hope that our judge doesn't start a career in stand-up comedy. Quick question for you, Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Have you considered becoming a ghost yourself to boost the income of your gift store?
It's been a consideration. You know, several members of staff have been approached with the prospect. Personally, I have a lot of management to do and that sort of thing. I'm having to give some serious consideration because it sounds like the judges appointed or made arrangements for a replacement by some sort of Nazi ghost. So now there's going to be some sort of throwing rocks or potatoes or something into the well. We'll need to clean the well periodically. It's frankly an unacceptable solution, but we've agreed to abide by the judge's ruling, so I suppose we shall.
Thank you so much. Mr. Lucretio, how do you think this ruling, how will it affect your work-death balance?
Hopefully I can retire and I can focus on my hobbies. I will need to find another well to hunt, but I think I will apply for the best well in the US, and not the top 5 one.
Well, best of luck to you.
That's Ye Old Haunted Well on Highway 16 outside Abbotsville.
Okay, we're going on to the penultimate case for today's docket. Case number 6.
Don't we have one more after this? After Boyd Fisher, I think we have Manjoni O'Dale.
Yeah, yes, that's penultimate. You got to get that word a day calendar I bought for you, Judge. It was.
Well, hold on a second.
It was
hold on a second.
It was 2 days ago. Did you?
But I already have a great pen. I don't need a penultimate.
Yes, our next case, case number 6, is a Boyd versus Fisher. Now, Judge, this is going to be a complicated one. We're really going to have to put the screws on this one. Tenancy disputes related to infidelity and child custody between the ghost plaintiff and the living defendant. Sort of a rat's nest of complications. I read the entire thing. Good luck. Plaintiff, let's hear your case.
It's going to be good TV. Let's do this.
Yes, Fabio Boyd here. It's not my fault that I fell in love with Mr. Fisher's wife. Love knows no bounds, and we have 5 beautiful children. However, they have nowhere to be. She left both of us. I feel like Mr. Fisher and I can get common ground. I'm a lover, and I took an unfortunate fall one day when I was doing a walk for a fashion show, and I just so happened to fall into her arms. And now all I want is a basement to raise my children in. Please.
Very polite plaintiff. Very polite plaintiff. And
Yeah,
I do have to say,
timely.
yeah, timely and
Very polite.
breathtaking is the word that comes to
Fabio-
mind here, but that will not, in fact, impact anything. Defendant?
Your Honor, I'm Frank Fisher, and I'm the victim here. This ghost took my wife away, and they have not 1, not 2, not 3, not even 4. They had 5 half-ghost children, and now he wants to raise them in my basement after my spouse left both of us. This is outrageous, even for ghost court. There's no law, there's no legal binding. Why should I help?
Interesting. Got a couple questions for you, defendant. Now, the accusation is that none of these children are, in fact, yours, that they all are a spawn of Mr. Boyd. Is that accurate?
Yes, Your Honor.
And no,
All
so
5
none of
are
these children, none of these
half-ghost.
5 children share your eyes?
It's not possible. They're half ghost.
Interesting. And why do you feel that your wife felt the need to be celibate with you, but to offer herself to the plaintiff? Is there any behaviors that you were responsible for that drove your woman towards the plaintiff?
Have you seen me?
Shut up. You know, I worked hard. I was gone most of the time to provide for our family. That's not my fault. I had to work 3 jobs for this. I was barely home, but I loved her.
Must not have been 5
That's
times.
good. That's good. Plaintiff, I got a bit of an indelicate question to ask you. Do you in any way find the defendant attractive?
Well, of course. Love knows no bounds.
That's kind of
And
feel like that's
he
the vibe
certainly
you put
did
off.
provide.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah,
part
he
of the
certainly did provide.
there's some fruit to the labor there, I think, and defendant. Now I think it's an obvious question, but you do recognize how handsome Mr. Boyd is, do you not?
Well, yes, of course. Everybody knows it, right?
and in college, at any point, had you ever kissed another man with tongue?
Yes.
So I guess the question is if we can show that Mr. Boyd, in fact, is a very good kisser, we know he's a good lover, we know that you provide, I think it's an opportunity for these 5 children to be raised in a household of peace and love. Give me a sense, Mr. Fisher, how you feel about that?
I've always wanted children, and I guess at my age, it'll be hard to start over.
I think I'm going to rule in favor of the plaintiff. Plaintiff, this is going to be in favor of you, but you are required in the next 4 weeks to take the defendant out for dinner, and you're going to sit and watch his favorite TV shows. And it's going to be, you need to treat the defendant much like you treated his wife.
I provided for her, and I shall provide for you too.
What a meet cute. Polly?
What a fascinating case. Fascinating. Mr. Boyd, how does it feel to be so incredibly beautiful and charming at the same time?
You know, it was difficult when I fell from heaven, but you know, I deal with it as anyone does.
So, what are you doing after court? Well, let me just give you my number real
He's
quick.
mugging now.
A little bit of an espresso.
Excellent choice. Excuse me, Mr. Fisher. Are you going to try to patch together your marriage with your wife, or are you considering building up your relationship with the beautiful and handsome Mr. Boyd?
Well, there's no way I'm going to trust her anymore, so I might as well give him a chance. We'll see.
I'd
He
prefer you
promised,
not, but
so I feel like this time this could work.
absolutely. Thank you so much.
May I interject quickly?
Of course, please.
They have
please.
my hair, which is beautiful, and
Stunning.
and I think
Can I
both
touch it?
Mr. Fisher and I can both agree that you see my
Thank you.
Mr.
It's so
Fisher and I
soft.
can both agree our ex-wife is a dirty bitch. Thank you.
Harsh words. Let's go
Definitely.
back to our judge. This is, after all, this is a family show.
Well, Judge, love finds a way, I suppose.
I was hoping they'd be open to it, Curtis. I really was. Boy, that was a pretty ghost. I ain't gonna lie to you.
I didn't notice. Case number 7, our last case of the day.
The penultimate one.
No, I again, just read the word of the day calendar. It's right. It's on your desk. I
told you.
I saw it on
I
your
told
desk.
you no words in this court that have more letters than mayonnaise.
I don't even think that. Nevertheless, case number 7, Mangiani versus Odell. This here we have a haunting rights case between 2 ghosts who would like to haunt the same person. Likely that Mr. Boyd or Fisher or whatever his name was from earlier.
This is very interesting. I'm glad you saved this for last, Curtis, because the law has not been settled here when it comes to haunting rights. So I'm very interested to see here. We might set ourselves a penultimate precedent here.
Just make sure you put that in your report.
I don't write that. All right, plaintiff.
I know.
Yeah, Your Honor. I've been haunting Chris Phipps now for quite some time. He resides at 8002 North Adolph Avenue, and he is awful. He ruins the ends of novels for people. It's just terrible. And I have taken on the responsibility to haunt him and make his life hell. I trip him at every opportunity. I move rugs. I move books. I've lost his keys on him. He is awful. And I will say that the defendant has now begun to take their own time and offer it against mine. And it is just not acceptable, sir. Not acceptable. The man deserves a proper haunting, and I am the one to give it.
Exactly.
Right, so that is very compelling. I'm interested to hear what the interceder haunter is. So, defendant, please.
Sure, Judge. So it's like this. Unlike other ghosts who kind of do the 5-year-old, in a bedsheet frat boy type pranks, I do proper hauntings. I mean, now you have to understand this, Mr. Phipps. He doesn't just ruin novels. He does it by posting the endings on Twitter.
Oh.
And so, what I do is I actually swap the books while he thinks, so that he actually ruins the end of the wrong novel. So he thinks he's in one and he's doing those. So obviously, not only am I a much better haunter and much more deserving of this possessioning, but I actually am the one who is helping the living not have to suffer through this man.
It's very interesting. Very, very interesting. I mean, one thing is clear. That this boy needs to be haunted. I think that's very, very clear, and I think you both have made that clear. But I do have some questions, and let's start off with you, plaintiff. The accusation being that you have now watch this, Curtis. You're using sophomoric type hauntings in order to do that, and I want to know if that you in fact agree with the defendant that it is sophomoric.
Your Honor, sophomoric is a Persian term for classic haunting techniques.
Interesting.
Outdated.
Classic.
Defendant, you will have your. I ask that you do not speak.
The Lost Keys is a wonderful haunting.
It is a classic.
It's classic. It's classic.
Now, it does sound like, though, that the defendant is providing a service in the way that his new innovative hauntings are, switching out last pages of books so that when our much deserved haunted is getting on the teeter, that they're posting the wrong endings to the wrong books. I feel like that is a service. That was compelling. Do you agree, plaintiff?
What? Well, if I hide the book and now he can't find the book because the pages are missing, it just doesn't. He's in my way, Your Honor. That's all I'm saying.
So it sounds like you're open to expanding your repertoire of. See, did you hear that, Curtis? Repertoire of hauntings.
So you just want him to steal from me, Judge? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, that's we have not talked to you yet, defendant. You are ruining your case here, plaintiff. It sounds to me you're open to this.
I'd be open to adding some additional haunting styles if that's your meaning.
All right, that's very good. Hold on. I got to flip my calendar and get to the October word. Okay. Defendant. Sounds like what's important to you is that you stop the deeds of the haunted. Is that accurate?
Well, to stop the deeds and also the public ridicule, because that's really get the living to haunt him through the ridicule.
You sound like you're pro-living, which I do appreciate for ghosts, for the living such as us. So often we talk about the hate towards the dead. I think that we don't talk enough about the reverse deadism that can often happen with the living as well. So this is Curtis. I need to think about this one. This is a big case. I don't know if you have any precedent.
Take your time, Judge.
Here. It makes me a little bit nervous. The establishment of this has not been set yet. I think I do appreciate what you are doing, defendant. I do feel like it is just in an auxiliary to what the plaintiff has offered to do. So I'm ruling in favor of the plaintiff. If the plaintiff does in fact open up their repertoire, that's September repertoire of the types of hauntings that you would do, assuming that you do that, plaintiff, I'm ruling in your favor. Defendant, I think you do good work. I think you need to go beyond that and move along and find somebody who isn't already haunted.
Polly?
Exciting conclusion. Now that the trial's over, Mr. Mangiani, what's next for you?
Well, I've got to haunt Mr. Phipps. He definitely needs it. He is the worst. The man would kick a puppy. He is just awful.
Absolutely.
It does sound like I'm going to have to maybe go to some haunting classes to get a little bit, to expand my repertoire just a bit.
One more question. Are you impressed by the judge's vocabulary?
Absolutely. Quite an impressive calendar, I have to say.
He's quite the wordsmith, isn't he? Mr. Adele, do you think that the judge's ruling was biased?
No, the judge is totally wrong in here. I mean, McGinty, he's been around for a while. I understand, respect your elders and all, as we've said earlier, but he's really a has-been in this whole haunting industry. What he really needs to do is see the light, move on, and leave this to this younger folk that, actually understand how the modern society works.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.
This concludes Ghost Court.
Don't forget to take a tote bag on your way out.
That was really fun. So my goal was for us to stay in character the entire an hour now, and we did that.
It was a lot of fun.
Yes.
Thank you. That's going to happen.
Oh,
And
no.
he's gone.
Oh, no.
He's going to haunt us now.
Chaos.
At least I happened to have a good time.
Still on stream?
Yes.
The inmates run the asylum.
All right, shh, everybody behave. He's back.
Oh,
Or maybe he's not.
Or maybe not. That's okay. This is our stream now.
Yes, exactly.
Look at us.
We're the stream.
We are the captain.
Pirate Radio.
I'm back. Nice try.
That is amazing. I don't think that has ever happened.
All right, so somebody come up with a quick 10-player role-playing game we can play out here.
You guys can hear me or no?
Easy.
Yes. Shadowrun.
Okay. All right. So
that's
we're not
a game
going
that
to
needs
do
more players.
thoughts and wishes for everybody. I do like. Well, just give me a quick raise of hands so I can call in the.
So I don't know what Craig was planning to do to finish this out, but
Oh, can you not hear Craig?
No, I can't hear Craig
No.
either.
Nope.
I can
Can
neither
somebody
hear
hear
nor see
Craig?
So
About half
for
of
those,
us can hear you.
okay.
Oh,
For
that's
those that can hear me,
amazing.
tell the other
Okay.
half
I
to
can
refresh
see
their
him.
browser.
Oh,
Well,
so
if he's on
got
stream,
nothing.
he says to try a refresh to see if that.
he
gets
is
it
on
back in.
stream, so I'm gonna shut up.
So if you
Right.
refresh, it may fix it for you.
Yeah, so if you refresh your OBS, this is really funny. All right. So let's start off with you, Roger. What did you think?
Oh, it was a lot of fun.
Okay.
I like the time limit because it does, cut it down, but it's also like sometimes you want to just, play it for a little longer. I feel like we're almost too constrained. I would have liked maybe a little bit longer, but
Yeah,
still good.
I think the minute's pretty good for the opening case, and like you and I don't think anybody needed more time than that. Maybe a little bit longer for the question and answer, but I think part of the selling point of the game is it's like boom, boom, boom. Like we went
Right.
through and did a lot in an hour. Z, what did you think?
I had a great time. It was just really fun to see people just on the spot come up with stuff, and it was. I think as it went on, we slipped more into it, so it started like getting into the groove of it. Like any RPG, you just get into the
Exactly.
groove, and then suddenly it clicks more. So this is like, oh yeah, I wish we could have another hour now. Just now that we warmed up, this was warming up.
And we were using the roll behind the scenes. You guys couldn't see. We were using the Roll20 implementation of this. So huge fan if you want to try this online. It makes it like much easier. It's got all the cards and stuff in there. But this really shines in person because part of what happens in person is you have the plaintiff and the defendant come up and take the cards from the clerk, and they're just reading them and going. So there's something that's kind of neat about. You can't think too much about it because you're not going to know until right before you go. Ends up being ridiculous. Richard, anybody else have some thoughts that they want to share?
So I didn't hear most of that because I was having some connection problems. I had to bounce for a second. But honestly, have you thought about possibly setting this up before your stream sessions, just to, as you mentioned, get people kind of loosened up a little bit?
I think it's a great warmer, definitely. I've not thought of that down, but I think we've got a lot more cases that are available to us. I doubt this is the last time we do Ghost Court, and I would love to not be the judge on the next one. So I can definitely
Judge
do it again.
looks like the most stressful of the positions because you have to try and consolidate all that nonsense into something coherent.
It's fun. Naomi, you wanted to say something?
it's it's surprising how long 1 minute actually is.
It is.
And I think it's it's not in the rules, but it might be fun if you reduce that to 45 seconds and then introduce rebuttal so that you can respond to each other. I mean, it's already kind of in there through what the judge asks, but as a lawyer in real life, that can be that can be fun, is that you get to respond to each other. But I think perhaps
that would
that's
be
for advanced once you've played it a couple more times.
Are you listening, Jason? Ghost Court 2. We need it.
Yeah.
We need version 2.0.
Expert mode.
That's right. Any other thoughts, questions, ideas that we want to pop in there? All right. Everybody who's on the screen right now has been in previous plays. So if you enjoyed anybody, you want to go find their plays, you can definitely do that on our channel. We've got a lot more coming up this coming Thursday, which is normally our Sentinels RPG night. We're going to be playing another different game called In This World, which is by Ben Robbins, the maker of Microscope. It's an incredible game where we start off with a simple premise and we create multiple worlds through that. It's a really neat collaborative brainstorming game. So don't miss that next Thursday. And if you did not catch Mothership last night or yesterday morning, it is a huge hit, as I expected it to be. Mothership has always been very popular. It's VR Dead. You can find it on there. Thanks, everybody.
Howdy, friends. Thank you for watching. All our content is archived and organized in playlists on the Third Floor Wars YouTube channel. Check it out. And if you could like, follow, subscribe, and even set your notifications to this channel on YouTube and Twitch, we'd appreciate it, and it'll make sure that you catch all of our content. I talk with creators, designers, and experts across the gaming landscape in every episode of our podcast, Tabletop Talk. Open up your favorite podcatcher and search for Tabletop Talk from Third Floor Wars. Support your creators. They make the content you love, and it's your support that makes it happen. If you want to help us, go to Third Floor Wars on patreon.com, and you can help us for as little as $1 a month. Thanks again. We'll see you next time. Take care.